lot of these people would really like to give up and didn't really have that drive.
Anybody's bad. Anybody's bad.
The expectation should be to win first place.
Get them to ascend.
We kind of just threw at the end.
And just winning everything.
I'm with a better team now.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, MAD we're winning 5 versus 3.
Corner. Oh, line up. I mean, take what like now over to the first.
And they buy themselves some time. It's Spaz that could do it.
Look how quick this point. Oh, especially now.
5 Rebellion Black, your Challengers champions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Valorant Challengers. It's been the first week here of Stage 2, and it's been so much fun, and I cannot wait with the final day for our opening week here, how these matches are going to be turning up, because you never know what to expect over here in Challengers. Sierra, Dawn, Roy, and Ash here on the desk. Ash, how are we doing today? I know in Canada where we're at, it's super rainy and cold, but I'm hoping these matches fire us up.
We're talking about weather nice.
Yeah, I think they should be heating things up for sure. I think I'm super excited for today. It's been a really wild week, I feel like, for some of the upsets that we even saw on day 1. I'm still thinking back to that Ambrosia taking the matchup against M80, which is so crazy, and excited to see them again on stream today.
There's always something. There's always something. And this first week of Challengers is not disappointed whatsoever. Let's pull out the bracket and kind of talk about what we've seen. Because reminder, of course, we're looking at 4 wins, make it to playoffs, 4 losses, you're out. So these wins do matter. They do stack up. And being able to start off the season hot is definitely nice. And Roy, when you're looking at this round 2, so these are all our winning teams and how they're going to be seeded, a lot of these teams were kind of expected, but there's a few surprises amongst them.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we saw glimpses of the newcomers. We saw a refresh on the old guards, right? We're starting to get an idea of where these teams are, what they're working towards. And I think for me, like we're kind of getting into the second wave of matches, right? We're starting to see how they're evolving, how their map pools are going, you know, with the addition of Icebox, with the addition of Ascent, what kind of compositions they're doing, what kind of role swaps they're doing, like how is their meta interpretation. So I think overall we're starting to see a lot more of these teams, and I'm excited to see even more for the second round of matches today.
And even with a couple of the teams that have made their way up, and this is their first appearance, we did get to see actually some really good matches. Prosperity, yeah, not enough for a win, but really close. And Nonverbal, I mean, this was a map then too, Ash, where they took the Stage 1 champs, SRB, to a map number 3 before Paint Masterclass, but just ignore that part. But they took it to a map 3. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's so wild. It feels like, you know, these teams that have been working towards leveling up and getting into challengers, such as that Nonverbal squad. And then every other team that also like maybe just got cut off like during playoffs like pretty early or didn't even make it there, have taken the time that we've had like the last couple of weeks to really level up their gameplay. And it really tells you how close the competition is still at this point, because SRB, they looked like they were unreal during that first stage, and to see that the competition's already like tightening up here at week 1 of stage 2, I'm really excited.
Oh, the match is going to be so good today. But before we get into some intense Valorant, we have a little fun mini game for us on the desk to try and see how well we know, out of all things, the sounds of the gun skins in the game. And I was going to be like, this is a light, little breezy game before we get into the intense action. But like, honestly, I feel like it's going to be intense too. How well do you guys think that we're going to do for this? Because I'm going to need carried personally. Like, this is not my forte.
Ash, you want to go first?
I don't know. I feel like the 3 of us, this combo has done a little bit of trolling for like the mini games that we've had previously. So I'm a little sus. I'm excited though. I'm a big skins enjoyer. I'm not going to reveal how much I've spent on this video game, but I'm not the best audio girl. So I'm going to lean on you guys pretty heavily for this. We're going to need some teamwork.
Listen, I think we can like mix and match our strengths and weaknesses to make a functioning team dynamic, okay? Because I will know the sounds probably, but I won't know the names. So as long as one of you guys is good with names, yes, there we go. We're chilling. We are chilling.
I can't help it all. I've spent too much money, but I've only used the same Vandal skin for the last 4 years. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But all right, let's start. Make sure you guys have your audios on as well. Any Twitch viewers as well, if you want to join in, throw your guesses in the chat. But let's start the very first one. See if we can get this right, okay?
It's Phantom. That's just default Phantom?
I don't use the
Wait,
Phantom ever.
No.
I don't know.
Wait, can we get a replay? Can we get a quick
No,
replay?
that's... Yo, is that just the default Phantom?
No.
No, it's not.
Protocol.
Ooh.
I'm going with Protocol Phantom.
Wait,
wanna lock
Protocol is the... Are you sure that's the one you're thinking of and not Recon?
No, Recon has the bass sound, doesn't it? I'm thinking Protocol, like the robotic Optimus
Yeah,
Prime
the
looking
robotic...
one.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me. No!
Yeah!
It's the
Dude, oh my god! I need to trust myself. I even
Wait,
was
you
like,
said
no, I didn't say it, but like I had a thought. My internet and like I'm crashing out. My internet's crashing out, but my duo plays with this skin. So I was like, there is like a part. There is a part, but the second it was missing. Oh my god, this is the only one I had a chance to get right, and I didn't. And I hate myself.
Yeah, this is so over. We have like 4 more to go, guys.
Oh,
Come on,
my
lock it,
no,
lock it.
we're going 0 for 5. I'm pretty sure.
Oh my god. All right, let's send the next
I'm
one.
not a Phantom user.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually just a Vandal user, and that's my
Yeah.
coke, so I'm cool with that.
Even on the bad days, like Vandal all the way. All right, let's get the next one. Let's send it.
I'm like anticipating.
All right.
Is that A1 Is that the A1 No, it's not. It's not.
Chrono Void Vandal or no?
Yeah. You know what? I do vibe with that pick because A1 is like more bassy. It has more of like a thonk to it, I think.
I feel like it's a Chrono Void. I was wrong on the first one. I was really confident on the first one and I got it wrong, but unless we have a better guess, my vote is Chrono Void Vandal.
We can do 2 guesses if we want. Not 3. I have no clue, but
do we have a second guess?
Ash, how are you feeling?
No, no, that's Chrono Void. That has to be Chrono Void. I think so. I think you're right on this one. No, but if we're wrong,
snitching.
if we're wrong, if we're wrong, that's so embarrassing.
All right, let's send it. Let's see. I mean, we already knew we weren't gonna do it, you know. So,
Ew. Sorry.
Ooh.
I am an Arcane Vandal hater, and that is why I would not recognize it because I refuse to use this gun. Actually,
Same. I bought
Not
it,
that ew.
used it once, couldn't shoot straight, never again. Like that was it.
no, I swear this skin is anti-aimbot. Like on God, on my life, it is anti-aimbot.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the
Same
only
debuff?
one. Like,
Yeah, it's a debuff for sure, for sure.
I knew I was gonna be bad at this. I did not think I would be this bad at this.
all right, let's just get it over with. Send the third one. We got a couple more of these to
Let's
do,
get the
guys.
pain over. Let's get the pain
Yeah,
over.
send it. Just send it.
hurts.
Pain.
Whoa. Wait. Wait. Oh my god.
Oh no.
Oh.
It's not Miss Bloom, right?
Which one is
No,
that?
it's not. Is this Singularity Phantom?
No.
Oh,
No, is
wasn't
that
that
the Miss-
that's the
That's
Miss Bloom
Miss Bloom.
sound?
That's Miss
yeah,
Bloom.
Yeah. That's a little
I
sound.
might like
Yeah.
gaslight
I'm down
myself.
for that vote.
No,
I
no,
think
the
it's Miss
second.
Bloom.
Second I heard the kill confirmed, that has to be Miss Bloom.
I was just like, yeah, it's like a little musical sounding. Let's go.
Yeah.
Wait, I was actually right on the first try.
Wait, Ash, you're correct.
She's too good. She's too good.
We got one.
We got one, team. We're on the board. We're on the board. We're taking the
first one's the
momentum.
hardest. The first one's the hardest. Let's go.
Real.
Ash gets it right, and we convince her that like she's to trust herself. Look at us. We're such a team over here.
Strengths and weaknesses. Let's go.
My vibes merchants. Thank you.
All right, production said that's going to be the last one. We'll let you end on a win here. So thank you for that. Thank you, Ash, for getting one right. I'll never get over I'll never get over the champs phantom. I knew that. That's fine. It's in the past. We got a series to talk about for today. Okay.
Yep.
That's we get the bad vibes over and done with, because only good vibes ahead, because it's going to be a killer series to be starting off our day. We're going to be looking at the teams that have won in their very first round, which means it's going to be Cubert Academy and Winthrop University up first. Of course, Winthrop University, we've gotten to see them this week. We got to see a lot of them during the playoffs. Cubert Academy, though, Roy, strong win yesterday. And of course, this is like the team everyone talks about. Like, if you're not talking about the team, you're talking about the plushie. Like, what's not to love here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this roster is actually, just a reminder, this is the fourth place finishers. They're a superstar lineup. But there's a couple things about this roster that are kind of unique, right? One, they played against Winthrop University in playoffs. They got knocked down to lowers by them. That's one thing that we definitely have to keep in mind for this matchup. But this roster is definitely very well-rounded. They have a very good lineup from start to finish. They have a good IGL. They have good support players. They have good duelists. They have good controllers. When it comes to diversity, when it comes to flexibility, this roster definitely has that.
Yeah, you're talking about it also being like a strong win. It was a 2-0 up against Burger Boys Sierra, but that doesn't tell this whole story of that matchup. It was actually like pretty close, especially that second map on split. It felt like it was neck and neck the entire time. And again, I think that says a lot about how the competition has come close. But you're talking about, Roy, the fact that they faced off against Winthrop. I feel like this squad is the type to come back with a vengeance. And this is one of those teams where you're going to look for them to get that revenge matchup here today.
Especially, too, the players on this team. I mean, we have some players that have definitely been veterans here in the challenger scenes that even if something, doesn't quite go their way, that they're able to bounce back. So we look at the fourth for the playoffs, water under the bridge. The match yesterday, okay. And one of those veterans wanted to talk about was Nismo, because of course Nismo has been like the guy here, Roy, when we're looking at challengers the last couple of years. It's so close so many times, but definitely was a huge pickup for this roster, and he makes so much impact in the server.
Yeah, the Middle East beast is what I call him. He's the absolute rock of Cubert, one of the most dependable support players in the league, one of the highest APRs as well. But it's not just that. He's not just a support player. When it comes to fragging power, when it comes to impact, whether it's clutches, whether it's trading, he is that player. His stats are incredible on both kills and assists, and he's that type of player that really rounds out this roster and brings in that experience that this young team needs.
Yeah, it's been really nice to be able to see how he's able to step up. You're talking about that young team, and yeah, young team, but when you have players with this sort of experience, it's been really, really nice. And Ash, when we are looking at a meta that has so many of these initiators and how much impact they make all the time, and Nismo being just one of the top initiators, it's no wonder that we get to see him just light things up.
Oh, absolutely. I'm also just saying, we got a KO buff recently, guys. Nismo is like one of the KO players. And I'm really looking forward to that, especially with Ascent coming back into the map pool here for stage 2.
Good shout.
This is where I'm going to have my eyes on him to bring immense value to this team.
I love that call out. There is nothing like Nismo playing KO. That'll be a lot of fun. But another person on this team that we have to talk about, we talk about him every single time, and for damn good reason. Talk about Redux here, because of course this team was his creation. This was his baby. There wouldn't be a Cubert Academy without Redux here, and someone that of course there's a lot of eyes on. We're looking at the call up when we know that Redux is going to be playing tier 1 one day. That is not a question of if, it's when, Roy. So it's been really fun to follow the progression of his team building throughout this.
Yeah, he had a great first split too, but honestly, I really can't help but feel like there's still some gas that was left in the tank for this player. I think he has a lot more room to show us. and I'm confident that he's going to be showing up in the second split. He's a great performer. He's playing really well, and he seems to be rounding out his roles as well. We saw him play the Omen yesterday, and he was popping off in that role as well. Mind you, it was on Icebox and on Split. I don't imagine he's the controller of the team, obviously, but in terms of like role diversity, in terms of evolution, this player is willing to take on those challenges, and his performances have definitely kept up.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that added flexibility coming into the fray with that Omen that you were talking about. And a big part of that was because we saw Knights actually slotting into that Yoru, something that was kind of missing here for Cubert because it's not really in the agent pool there for Redux. He's strayed away for it for the entirety of Split. One was very solidly playing, obviously, like the Jet, the Raze, and the Neon that he's known for, right? But it did feel like they were lagging behind in the meta in that kind of sense. Not that they necessarily needed it. You don't always have to shoehorn your duelist into that, but it's cool to see the flexibility coming in to allow maybe some of those compositions with the Yoru come to play for Knights.
It's nice to see the flexibility from Redux to being able to pick up that Omen, and then the flexibility from the team as well. When you are looking at a team that a couple of these players are looking to develop, to be those next, like that next generation of superstars. So that's been really, really cool. But even if the playoffs didn't end quite how they wanted to, they have an opportunity to enact a little bit of revenge today, going up against opponents Winthrop University. We've already gotten to see them this week, Ash. Winthrop University, they switched up the script. They were the underdogs. Like nobody counted them in anything or stage one. They make playoffs. They're the underdogs. Now they're a team that we consider them like one of the top.
Yeah, it was crazy how they were a real dark horse, it felt like, at the end of Swiss stage, heading into playoffs as well. Like, stocks were going up there for Winthrop University. A big part of that was also Ali coming in for this squad, replacing Jerk, and how that has kind of slotted in for that team, and how some of the role swaps made them definitely look a lot more comfortable towards the end of stage one.
I think the one thing I appreciate about Winthrop University is how often they talk about their match prep, and it's something that they find a lot of confidence in. Like whenever we interviewed Ali and whenever, I interact with some of the players, they're talking about their match prep. That's how they get their confidence. They're not really scared, and it kind of reflects in their gameplay. Like, I rarely see hesitation. I don't see fear. They're almost extremely calculated in the way they play. And yeah, they do troll their comps. They do switch up their roles randomly, but even when they do, they still are a very well-oiled machine.
And you mentioned Ali, and that's the first person I want to talk about on this roster. Because when you're looking at that evolution of Winthrop University into where they were and where they are now, Ali being added onto the roster, Ash, was a big catalyst for that. We're going from coach, so you have all of this voice, bring it into the team, and someone who's really been able to step up in the kills department as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's a lot of firepower under Ali's belt, right? And then the fact that he slotted into this controller after initially just taking on Jerk's role as that initiator, which is the role, even though Ali, okay, I'll give him the fact that he's a flexible player. You could put him on anything and he's going to frag out, but his controller is like his bread and butter, and he plays it in such an aggressive fashion sometimes there as well.
Is it just me that's lagging? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we're having some issues with Discord. To back up what she was saying, I completely agree. I think he's one of the highest fragging controllers that we have in the league. He almost hit one of the best clips. It got stolen by Infiltrator, L teammate, by the way. That could have been clip of the season. But you know what? We're gonna let that one slide because he ended up having an insane performance on the third map. And speaking of which, Infiltrator, this is the superstar player of this roster. He had an insane opening match yesterday, Sierra and Ash, and we're seeing his op evolving every single week. He's rifling, he's shotgunning, he's opping, and whatever he pops up, whatever he uses, he seems to find value in.
I don't have anyone else here with me. I don't know, they could also be yapping. This is great. This is fine. But long story short of what we were trying to accomplish, what we were trying to talk about here, Infiltrator, crazy. We know that, right? this is not something that you need to get into the games, into the server to know. Infiltrator's been somebody that from the get-go, once you see him, has always been like, why aren't we talking more about him, right? Every time he showed up, even when the team wasn't doing necessarily the greatest, the biggest, all right, what's going on? So to really be able to see him get his flowers throughout this, and it's just more and more about Infiltrator and showing that it's not just him going toe-to-toe with these top duelists in the league, but is one of them as well in a Challenger season that is so stacked with duelists. This has been really cool, really, really fun to see. And pairing these up for this head-to-head going on today, I think the numbers just even tell that story. When you're looking at Redux, someone who has been so heavily praised for being the next call-up, this is going to be the next duelist, guys, and seeing that on paper throughout their journeys, that Infiltrator, both numbers are good for both of these players. Do not get me wrong. But for Infiltrator to just just a little bit cut above, at least at this point, has been really, really cool. That combined with playoffs and just this Winthrop University squad really being able to go toe-to-toe and even be the team that knocked Cubert Academy down into that lower bracket, I think is really cool. The fact we've had a matchup between these two before, and it was a Infiltrator that was able to come out on top, due in part with the fact, too, that he was able to bring out this Yoru, something that Ash and Roy, kind of touched on before, I think is absolutely huge. So going on into the matchup today, even if, it's still like, oh my goodness, Cubert Academy is the favorites throughout all of this, I think this is going to be an extremely close matchup. And the fact that we have the precedent for that, I think is even more. So yeah, I'm just, I'm looking through everything to see if I finally have co-casters, co-analysts back. Apparently Discord's working for some people. It's not working for other ones. So I'm just on a really big, awkward, oh my goodness, what's going on? But, I can at least talk about the map pool. So I think the biggest surprise for this is, first off, you guys just get the Sierra podcast now, by the way. Sorry you guys don't get proper analysts for this segment. Lotus, Icebox, and Haven. First off, Winthrop University, talking to Ali yesterday, Winthrop University, they have this confidence on Lotus, and it's not necessarily been turning out with these game wins for them. Winthrop University, this is infamous at this point, that they pick up this Lotus first map, drop it, and then win the next two out in the series. So I do think that when you're already just kind of looking at that Cubert Academy have this opportunity on Lotus to really close things out. But I'm excited for this Icebox pick. This is one of the ones that we saw yesterday coming out from Cubert Academy. They were on the side stream. And when we talk about the roles and things switching around a little bit, it was the Icebox, the first one, where they actually just forego any sort of duelist. And it was the first one where we got to see Redux on this Omen instead. And really big step up from multiple players. Redux did have a really good performance, but this is why we wanted to highlight Nismo heading into the day. So I think this will be really fun with those two. Haven, I feel like for Winthrop University, there has been the upsets of upsets going on for this one. And it's something that was actually the 13-11 victory for Winthrop University when they played in that upper final. So I think if we get to this point, it'll just be a great series ahead. But apparently the others can hear, I just can't hear anything. So I was told through text to give the word to Roy. So Roy, I can't hear you, but just have fun, mate.
All right, guys, we are having technical difficulties with our communications, but we are back. So in terms of the map pool, we're here in the map select. Lotus has been chosen by Winthrop University, a map that they have actually been struggling on just a little bit in terms of their performances on it. They've picked it. They've not been able to convert it. It's been Sierra's absolute nightmare seeing them pick it. She even asked Ali about it in the interview yesterday, and even then, it still did not reflect well. But to see them pull it out, they must be confident in their solutions. They must have found some sort of answer on that first map. And of course, they're going to be getting the defense side, as it is a pretty difficult side choice. Of course, Cubert opting in for the attack side on Lotus. Now, moving into the second map, it is going to be Icebox. Of course, Cubert looked impeccable on that map yesterday. They pulled out the no duelist composition. We saw Redux on the Omen as well. And they seem to have found some sort of level of performances and solutions to that map, because I'm actually a huge fan of the way they played it. I'm a huge fan of the composition itself. I like the double initiator. I like the Omen. I think it provides a lot of mid-round options, a lot of solutions to the op problems, to the executes, to the pulse plans, and they're just so much utility to work with. And of course, Haven, the third map, the decider, it has been a great map for both of these teams. I'm not surprised to see it on that.
I think it's super exciting to see these maps coming through. And you're talking about that Lotus pick, which I'm just going to focus back on because it'll be the first map that we're seeing for this best of 3. And I do think that we did see glimmers of brilliance from Winthrop initially, but I feel like with their composition, things just end up falling flat a little bit. It's tough with, you only have so many set plays that you can do with the information that you can garner, and the lack of space creation or crowd control that you end up getting from the breach that you usually see being played on this map. Because I think a big part of it is, sure, you have the double drone to try and push some of these ops off the angle and re-clear that space, but I really think that the lack of flashes and the lack of the stun for that rubble control, it makes it really difficult on this map. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they look to find some solutions. Maybe there's another comp that they were working on behind the scenes and whatnot, because even though Nasi is insane on the Sova, he has really cool ideas with it. I just don't think it brings as much value as other initiators that we usually see here on Lotus. And we are actually going to be right back because we're still struggling with some issues. So thank you so much for your patience, guys, and we will see you soon.
Dando fuga, vai! Dando fuga, vai! Não tenta bater de frente, sabe que lá tá fazendo macete. Desce até o chão, ela tá doida pra colar com a gente. Fazendo macete. Ela tá doida pra colar com a gente. Tá dando fuga, vai! Dando fuga, vai! Não tenta bater de frente, sabe que lá tá fazendo macete. Desce até o chão, ela tá doida pra
I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see.
We got to the point where we could control the laws of nature by advanced electronics.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for your patience. I know never a good sign when the host is here all by herself. As you guys can tell by the pre-show, Discord did go down. It is still down for some people. So all the players are getting coordinated, getting in TeamSpeak channels or whatever. We're just taking an extended tech pause to get that ready. It's almost resolved on that end. So it should be just for a couple more minutes. So get your snacks, get ready. There's going to be a banger match on the other side. We'll see you all real soon. All right, welcome back, everyone. We got an agent select for you. We're going to start right back into things. Winthrop University going up against Cubert Academy. First map, Lotus and Roy. Thoughts on the agent select?
Yeah, I mean, Winthrop University, they're re-swapping back off the breach. I guess it just wasn't working for them, Sierra. You criticized them, you made them overthink, and look at that. Now you've caused some chaos. You've swapped up their composition. Cubert, of course, opting for a bit of a role swap themselves from what we saw before. Now, the thing that is kind of looming in my mind, guys, is the fact that we talk so much about Winthrop's, match prep and all of this, but there really isn't any recent footage of Cubert. Like, the last time they played this was in playoffs. It was several weeks ago. Now they're going into territory of like, oh, they're pulling out a completely different comp. Mind you, it is still a meta comp, so I think they'll be, mentally prepared for it, but there's really not much prep they can have coming into this map.
No, and I think that the fact that we're carrying forward with this role change is super interesting to see. It's something that we really have to keep our eyes on is, okay, Redux, again, when he came and had his start within Valorant, he was known as the star duelist player who is an up-and-comer. He's been around for a while now, and now shifting on to a very different role from what we're used to seeing him on.
Yep.
I'm really interested to see how this continues to carry forward, the comfort that we're going to see him develop here as a controller, and the different kind of value that we can provide. And then I think the Neon coming in to really shake up the tempo here for Sentinels Cubert Academy is going to be exciting coming out from Knights.
I am really excited for this because Knights was definitely such an aggressive player when we got to see him compete in stage 3 and of course ranked David, and be able to see him pick up this Neon for this map. And it's not just an, okay, we'll see him when it's the Yoru. We're seeing other flavors as well. This will be exciting. So I'm excited to get into this one. And I know it's been a long delay, so we're not going to delay this any longer. It's time to get into the server, get into the map, and send it over to your casters, Tenric and Marks, to get you started.
Thanks so much, Sierra. Yeah, I 100% agree with the changes that Sentinels Cubert Academy have made to their composition. Marks, loving seeing this mobility from Knights on the Neon and Scuba on the Vice to just exude that extra control over the extremities of Lotus, as has the current meta really dictated. Meanwhile, Winthrop University, while they continue to look like, one of the stronger teams, the team that was able to actually beat Cubert Academy and show that this team was not, in fact, invincible, they look kind of stalwart after the performance on their last map against Prosperity, and they're maintaining their composition that they used for it. Ali apparently does not feel like going GOAT mode on the Clove once again and has maintained that Omen. I'm perfectly fine with it, but I'm wondering, does Winthrop have it in them to beat Cubert today?
This is such like an interesting thing because obviously, when you look at things on paper, oh yeah, let's take a look at Split 1. Oh, Winthrop ran all over. It's great. They made 3rd place in the total playoffs here. But picking Lotus is such a big question mark for Winthrop University. And of course, they are going up against Cubert Academy, which this isn't their best map, but Winthrop have struggled. And already it's a fast flood in onto the C site.
Lightning fast, and Knights is at the forefront of it, already letting that new duelist title, at least for this map, really shine.
Spike planted.
Really good to see him get the frag out as often as possible, and on this Neon, surely that'll be a possibility. Winthrop University now just poking and prodding around the outside of the site after Cubert has busted their way in. Really tough to be able to retake this on top of the smoke timing. We'll just break through these smokes into the stun, able to get a good amount of work done, and Flair has actually built himself a little bit of room on the outside of the back site. In he goes, not too much time to go with it. First swing on, and Flair's watching the wrong way. Cubert's got 1 with 2 standing.
Yeah, and once again, it was just such speed that you expect to see from Cubert. They're the ones who just love attacking, love rushing in. And like everybody at this point has been talking about, Knights moving over to that duelist role. I mean, we saw Redux be pretty proficient on the Raze, being able to take a lot of the space. But one of the big question marks from last season as well surrounding this Cubert squad was how well they were going to be working together and allowing Redux to have some of those pop-off moments. So Knights swapping now onto the Neon, looks extremely comfortable. And with these role swaps coming through here, I mean, it's still looking really good for Cubert. And already, yeah, a lot of utility being traded out front of A, but it is going to be a trade early on.
Gonna get antsy with it, and with the Omen smoke back out, Winthrop University don't look to keep the fight going, but Moves will win the do-si-do against Redux over in C-side as well. So Cubert got to split the diff from spawn again and go in with lesser towards wherever they end up choosing. Obviously, C still the lighter option, but A, the easier fight to take with still the better guns, and Infiltrator's going to take half his health for that peak.
And one of the players I want you to keep an eye on throughout this match is going to be Winthrop University's Moobs. I've highlighted Moobs previously in so many of these different matches, but Moobs is so effective on the flank and is usually good for at least 1 or 2 kills, if not just consistently applying pressure onto the backline. Especially with the momentum that Cubert tend to play at, Moobs may have a lot of really good opportunities to find those Valorant timings and get a kill as easily as we kind of saw at the start of this round. And now, Cubert Academy, they're 3 up against 4. They don't necessarily have that much of an advantage, but thankfully they do have the weapons here, and they're going to be walking into Moobs' territory. Moobs, very low HP.
Cubert have to have a good idea that he's relatively close to this, and so they'll get the peak before he can do too much more damage to T-Dog, who will take the brunt of the blow from it. 3v3 for the retake, once again on the C site, 10 seconds to go. Winthrop, good job of walling things out, and you really can never tell where Moobs is going to end up. That kid just has a knack for finding the right time to flank every single round. Reopening the C door, no chance of getting anything done if somebody's looking your direction with this gun dip, so Cubert should have an easy cleanup for the remainder of this round. Being said, T-Dog is a little low, so you'd like to hold on to this gun and this extra body, but might just have to part with it if Infiltrator's peak is better, and it is. Quickly get shut down, though, to once again standing for Cubert.
Yeah, not a fantastic round for Cubert. It really just came down to those initial conflicts that happened over onto A, over on C as well. Just poking through, a lot of utility being tossed out on the A side, something very characteristic of this Lotus map. But just Knights being on the, unfortunately, receiving end of a lot of those bullets that Winthrop University were just shooting out across. I think there were 3 defenders just trying to spray this person down. The gamble stack worked out perfectly for them. And as a result, Cubert Academy not looking super hot moving into this next round. Only 2 weapons available for that bonus. But of course, this is going to be Winthrop now. Full rifles across the board. And yeah, a lot of control being fought over that A side on the outside. Well, Knights going to be moving over here. Now we'll be potentially a couple ultimate orbs away from having that overdrive ready. But it does feel like Cubert are once again looking to potentially flood in onto the C.
Moves once again laying in wait here. And Winthrop pretty keen to it at this point. So they'll try and play a little proactively on top of it, understanding that Moves is going to have to back away regardless. Huge util dump on him, including those salvos to fully back him away into the hall. But it's not a fast take. Knights is not going to dive on top of it with this slightly lesser gun. He'll just creep up, and now he'll make his entry as the rest of Cubert can make theirs. 2 for 1 so far, but we're still trying to clear Waterfall, and Winthrop have pretty overwhelming control of that with Infiltrator at the helm. Scuba, nice shutdown on the slide, though. T-Dog goes for the Rolling Thunder and gets shut down early by Flare. Very ballsy play, but even still, Cubert remain with higher power. Redux, though, quite low and looking the wrong way against one of the better clutchers for Winthrop's side as well. It's Ali smoking himself on. How good is this Omen today, my guy? Jumping in, first shot down.
No way. Oh my
good as well.
Clutch.
Good enough, at least for now. Bonus 1 by Winthrop.
Cubert, what are we doing? Oh no, this is not how you wanted to start out this map. Oh no, I mean, okay, obviously I don't want to, you know, bully them a little bit too much for what just happened there, but T-Dog, honestly, I feel like it was just a misjudgment at the speed that Winthrop University were really pressuring them. It seems like Cubert thought that they had a little bit more time, not realizing that the players of Winthrop were already onto the site, and this is just a little bit of a fumble at the end zone for Cubert Academy. Oh man, that one's got to be tough here, but already Scuba caught in a very unfortunate position as Winthrop University just doing such a fantastic job right now of controlling A, and then immediately you see them disperse themselves throughout the map and leaving Moves alone onto the C again.
Feeling every opportunity to try and equalize that economy, which they are still behind on, but Knights, now that that overdrive is active, is going to get, once again, very antsy in the back lines. And just create that space the good old-fashioned way. Winthrop having to creep back up with this util drive. First the stealth drone, and they know they're running into a hell of a lot. Infiltrator on top of the one-way. Actually has the better overdrive and takes care of the ditto. Now he's going in, but he's got some company, and that'll give him a 3-piece for the round as Winthrop have to just barrel through Nismo now. And Salvo's still not even back. You actually have some extra time on your hands to get a nice free piece of this site and start tailing that spike down. No good angle for Nismo. Everything coming up Winthrop this round as they keep 3 up, get everything they could ask for going forward on the defense.
It was an interesting idea coming in from Cubert Academy there. You see that they put the spike so far deep into the site, and then they just try and push out towards the spawn side of Winthrop University and are expecting to be able to take that space and hold forwards. But Winthrop, I mean, they mentioned it on the desk. They love doing their homework. They had an inkling that was going to be happening. We see the overdrive get popped and a lot of supporting utility come out to make sure that Infiltrator just has the time of his life just moving in. All the utility in the world wasn't enough to get them the space, despite the fact that all those players were paranoid and stunned up. So just excellent awareness coming in from Winthrop University. And now Infiltrator will have that super big, expensive sniper rifle ready to go and ready to find a couple of kills. It's a different look utility-wise for this defense. Just outside of A, they're still putting quite a bit of pressure, but have swapped things around, moves in the back of B, and immediately finds Knights.
Gonna try and back out of this. Cubert have no real choice but to find something to chase down, and their targeted choice is moves on that lower health, but Infiltrator is already turned around with this operator and is starting to make some headway on his own. Now Winthrop can just get aggressive on top of this spike that has been planted, but nothing really more gonna happen for Cubert Academy. A little bit of noise made. A lot more by Winthrop this round as they'll get the lead.
It's just so fast from Winthrop University. It feels like as soon as we see Cubert get into the position of like, all right, let's put that spike down, Winthrop are already jumping on them. And sure, we saw, you know, maybe Infiltrator did pop out the classic there for a second, but really it was just moves playing Overwatch from up top, being able to just make sure that nothing could really get through. Sorry, I said up top, but you know, it was just a wraparound. It was Flair actually who was making sure that everything was more or less organized. And Winthrop, they're just so quick on these retakes. Cubert, they don't have an opportunity really to get themselves set up. It seems like as soon as they get the spike down, they're already under a complete ambush from Winthrop.
Now it's that Hunter's Fury that'll play the aggressor for Infiltrator's sake up a courtyard, and what a surprise, it'll convince Cubert Academy to head back over to C, where Moves is posted back up again. Ollie as well, but Redux has the read on the TP and will quickly silence that. A lot of options now for Cubert Academy. But it seems like they'll still commit to the C. In goes Knights, and Moves has already taken that place. Again, quick to the punch every time on the lurk. Steel Garden now on the trade back, and Redux continues to frag as he'll make his way on with that controller role he's taken up.
Finally, the spike should go down. Only 2v4 here, make it 2v3. It's going to be the Salvos finding a lot of value here, where Infiltrator now swinging around from Waterfall.
Erno up first to open up Infiltrator. Aggressive peek, has to. And Nismo shuts it down. That was your one window, and Flair, tough call to make here, but no real choice. Good shot. And actually, you found your exit with that operator on the way. Solid bit of coping that Winthrop can do this time around as Cubert can play the waiting game this time around and tie us back up at 3.
Yeah, great job from Cubert Academy. They're able to find super important picks very early on their way in. Moves being the one, once again, that I am always going to be focusing on here. But Cubert just kind of storm in onto the site. This time they've got adequate time to get themselves set up, and it feels like a near impossible situation for Winthrop. Winthrop really were hoping to keep a couple of their members alive so that they could stall things out, really play down the clock a little bit longer so then they can get their pounce retake ready to go. But Cubert just a little bit more aggressive that time. Redux really leading the squad on Omen and making sure that that is going to be a win for Cubert. So it's all tied up 3-3 here. Have a little bit of a tech pause because it would be another day of Challengers without that. But still, I mean, okay, going back to the discussion about how the map choice is coming through, I do have to wonder whether or not this is like Winthrop coming in like, all right, we know we can beat Cubert Academy. Right now, Lotus is our weakest map. Let's try some stuff out and try to get the practice reps in while it's still early on in the season so that we don't, you know, get forced into a Lotus situation again. And then we get like a thing where suddenly Prosperity is winning the first map against you type of deal.
Yeah, I think you make some great points. You know, you're kind of multitasking if you're, you know, getting this map done. You're staying in character. You know, trying to make sure everyone still knows that you're willing to lose that first map and continue to go to 3, because that's what Winthrop does. You get your reps in on your worst map with the confidence that you can go into the next 2 regardless as the superior team, which Winthrop can still hold their heads high as of now. Of course, stay on your toes. Cubert's starting to come alive, and they also got rubble control for the first time. That'll cause a little more action from Winthrop University to try to sate the hunger over here on the rocks. But with an Armageddon going the other way through the baby door, that stealth drone just popped out. Oh, that'll be a guaranteed kill onto Flare. And now the gate is wide open for this A site for Cubert Academy to rush through, and they will spare no gap in the opportunity to take over this site. They may not get to that often this time around with how well Winthrop's been holding it down. Rolling Thunder, into the back they go, and Knights gets to rush in pretty much completely scot-free. Infiltrator, though, with that shorty will make me eat my words, and Knights has kill feed for a moment. Here, popping on with the Infiltrator. Operator, classic jump peek from 2 feet away. Unfortunately, won't get too much done this time around. Cubert Academy should have a guaranteed round from here.
Yeah, should be nice and easy for them. And actually, we do see Winthrop University backing off. Gonna just hold on to the guns. It's a little bit interesting given the fact that LA only does have that Guardian, but the economy is gonna be starting to get a little bit weaker. And at this point, it's a good time to talk about good old-fashioned map control, because what we were noticing from these defensive rounds from Winthrop University is we see that heavy util dump outside of A mound. Cubert Academy have they want nothing to do with that A site, and so that forces them to funnel either into C, which will be running into a lot of that Cypher utility and up against moves, or they'll funnel into B. And at that point, it is a lot quicker for that retake to happen with the members from that A site ready to flood in, and then hence the pounce retakes that we have kind of seen. What we saw in that last round is what happens when Winthrop University doesn't necessarily have control of that A and can't force Cubert Academy to try and go on to B or C. They left a lot of their members just kind of hanging out in these awkward positions, and Cubert Academy, you know these guys are aimers as well and can take you down, especially if you yield those individual fights. So a little bit of a, you know, a chip in the armor that was this Winthrop University defense, but this time around, we're seeing those salvos right off the bat. Doesn't matter though, Knights has already moved things forwards with that fast lane.
Yeah, Cubert is well aware that the traps they executed last round don't necessarily have to be done with ults. It's just a lot easier that way. So just maintain that sheen that they have so far on this attack, and they'll be able to execute on this courtyard ad nauseum, which is why Winthrop is still paying so many resources to it, despite the fact that there's no noise being made, and rightfully so. Knights is still hanging out, waiting for somebody to pop their head out. They won't, but Cubert won't either. They'll stick their heads into the doorway at C main, not like what they see, and then skitter right back on over to A lobby.
And really, Ali here is going to be that first line of defense, but more importantly, has to make the call to the team to let them know that this is going to be that potential A side hit. Will try and teleport away, gets away just in time. At this point, Winthrop University, they're very aware that this is going to be an A side attack, and so all the reinforcements are going to be coming through as soon as they make sure no one's coming in through B.
Now a TP from Redux to get freely onto the site before the door fully procs, just to make sure
30 seconds left.
You got that immediate front line cleared away, and is it worth it? We'll find out. Infiltrator's doing enough with the Stinger from behind. He's doing now more than enough, and Winthrop will take over yet again. There's that pounce you were talking about before, Marks. Scuba on the outskirts, though. He's the only one to come up with anything this time around. And so 4-4 now. Once again, we're tied.
I remember years ago, I was on a school field trip, and the class had just crossed the street. You know, and then I saw a yellow light happen, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can go. And so I hesitated. And then my teacher looked at me and said, you know what happens when you hesitate? People die. And that's kind of what happened. We saw coming through from Cubert Academy. Ditching the side of fact that grade 8 was traumatized that day. Basically, Cubert took their time at actually moving in onto that A site. They were doing their due diligence. They were clearing out all of these individual corners. And yet Winthrop University, as soon as they realized what was going on that A site, they pounced on it. They were there and ready to fight. Now, Cubert Academy, so slow at making their way in. And honestly, I say slow, but they were just doing a regular pace. It's just the speed that Winthrop University University was just taking over that site and making sure to take those fights. Infiltrator obviously kind of lighting up the kill feed with the Stinger in hand, and the Stinger is fantastic for those close range quarters, but you could tell that Cubert Academy were just simply not expecting them to be so quick at moving in onto the site. And I think that that speed right now is going to be what Winthrop University need to really maximize on to make sure that they win out this first map.
Winthrop continuing to find just creative ways to trip up that blistering speed that Cubert's trying to go for, and that TP from Ollie was one of them. Just a forced util dump, blistering takeover of a place that Winthrop didn't even need to care about at that point. Did the dirty work and then let Infiltrator do the talking. That's just how Winthrop operates. More Rebel control, but nobody from Winthrop there to answer this time around. The Cypher util's been set up on A site for the most part this time around. Cubert's going to go window shopping regardless, as we'll start the early defensive util dump in the other sight line so that Winthrop can try and get their ducks in a row early on to retake this A site that Cubert will now set their sights on.
Yeah, we see that Winthrop University as well are going to be going in for a pretty aggressive flank. But thanks to the share, we'll give that information out. See, just kind of stuck behind, but Infiltrator taking a lot of space. And now, let's see how this goes. This is another opportunity here where Cubert have had adequate time to get themselves set up.
Aggro salvo into the baby door to try to stave off Ali, but Infiltrator's already inside, so Winthrop, again, the fight happens on their terms more often than not when it comes to the defense right now. Moves another early aggro peak, so now it's just the presence on site, and you've got some cyber cages that Winthrop can work with, as well as that neural theft to guarantee your peaks, but very little time left on this fight. You've got to wrap things up soon, and Cubert's not going to let that happen. Knights and T-Dog playing. Pop it, twist it, pull it. Get it together to grab that lead back 5-4.
Damn, speaking of things from my childhood, haven't heard that chain of phrases in a long time.
We're bringing up trauma. We're bringing up Christmas gifts. We're doing, we'll go everywhere.
Hey, those things could be linked if you think about it. But it was so interesting watching how that round kind of played out there, because for a second, it really looked like Winthrop University should have had the advantage there. They're playing close together, and it isn't until Knights goes on a crazy phantom spree to really just stall things out. You're right, the spike was ticking down, and you could tell that Winthrop were definitely feeling the pressure after having to wait through on that flank to get set up there. So an excellent job from Cubert at making sure that they maintained their ground on the actual site. And this time around, we're seeing that aggro pressure from Winthrop, recontrolling that A site. And so Cubert, once again, are going to be going over to C. But at this point in the map, we've seen a lot more between these two squads, so this one might not be as cut and dry as Winthrop are expecting.
Yeah, we've seen these stories before, really speedrunning the flowchart, which means you get creative. Scuba in the smoke, and Infiltrator still susses him out. But a trade on the front line makes it still a little touch and go. Winthrop actually will end up getting stalled a little more because of it, so got that extra space on site, except for Moves. Guess what? He's creeping up on you. Backline still taken care of, though. Redux continuing to frag out despite the smoke or roll. Oh, Moves, what have you got up your sleeve? It's got to be massive on the Stinger. 2 back to equalize yet again and prevent the spike from getting planted. Now Ali back up. Knight's preventative, though. It's got to be all down to Moves, and he cannot carry the whole round on his back this time. Cubert will make the gap, too.
Yeah, and honestly, for a second there, I believed, okay? I thought for sure Moves somehow was going to pull off a miracle, and honestly, looking like he was just wearing the invisibility cloak or something, completely undetected, walking around the site, an imposter among us, and yet Cubert just were simply not aware of the presence of this Cypher and is able to walk away with 2 very important kills, also 2 stalling out the spike. But of course, the rest of Cubert Academy, they spin their head on a swivel and take a look around at the actual site and make sure that everything is clear. So, like you said, a nice, easy round win. As Cubert Academy, this time they're taking a lot of space here onto this A site. Uh-oh, distraction technique not quite working out.
Yeah, very much a hodgepodge that Infiltrator just relishes. May migrate and give this Vandal back if he has a say in it, but too dangerous at the moment. We'll just crowd around Rubble and wait for Cubert to make their inevitable shift in decision. Back over to C site we go. I'm so glad that we can avoid all the small talk that happened in the first couple rounds here and just get to the meat of the bones.
Cool.
Tripwire activated for Nismo. Hey guys, they're at C site. Did you know? In we go. Scuba early peek out. Moves can't land the shot in time. So still effective 3v2. Infiltrator continues to be quite low as well. And Spike ticking away has been one of the biggest things to set back Winthrop. Yeah, we will give that rifle over.
Keep in mind, too, this was actually a save round coming in from Winthrop. The fact that they've gotten this much value already is kind of nuts.
Russian from Infiltrator, the setback, and then the double swing. Very well executed by Winthrop to take care of that nice and tidy. So they will, once again, lessen the gap. And, I mean, unfortunately, that was just so chaotic at the very beginning that you sort of had to claw back from the jump. And normally Cubert would not be as prepared for that. I wonder if this last round on the attack, they will completely question their aggression they set towards the field.
Yeah, honestly, it just once again came down to that early fight.
Ow.
Yeah, right here. This is the pivotal moment. The fact that Knights was taken down immediately and Infiltrator got so deep in front of Cubert was the reason why that round did not work out for Cubert. Infiltrator has been so annoying to deal with. In Cubert Academy, once again, there's still a one-round lead here, but what should have been a pretty easy round for them just immediately disappears, and so they change up their strategy yet again. This time just leaving Scuba to be that vanguard onto this A site, while the rest of the members are playing a little bit slower. And Winthrop University looking for a little bit more information. Stealthbot will go out and at least see one person here, but it's not exactly the best buy from Cubert either. You see Knights only having that Judge. T-Dog only with the Stinger. The overdrive's active.
And it's going. First onto Ali's skull. Nasi would be the next target, and it seems like he might have already been poked at. Knight's using the rest of that overdrive just to get an aggressive position, which he will now use to kill moves with that Judge. Now he has his pick of the litter with what he can do. He'll extend a little more and grab that rifle as Cubert gets the plant, but Nasi has maintained this position on the steps the whole way through and has an early cut on top of the first pick. Has to nail this next gap, and he does on the Redux. Nismo, next point of attack, and the stun is too late. Now the Armageddon onto the site. Flare good for the one on top of it. An Infiltrator has all the time and space to be able to circle around and grab this next one. Flare actually steals it, grabbing 3 for himself on the round on top of that ultimate. So it's a tied up half. Going into the swap here, Marks. Neither team really fully budging. It really will just come down to, how the responses differ when we switch over. Is there going to be that same level of aggression in the courtyard? Is there still going to be that same level of prowess on the C entry, or do we see something completely different?
Honestly, I'm really interested to see how this round is going to be coming out, especially too, we've got the Vise up against the Cypher difference, right? Obviously, Moobs, generally speaking, always going to be playing that Cypher, but it's a little bit of a question mark for Scuba on the Vise. I haven't really seen enough to make a judgment call on whether or not that is going to be a big difference maker, but I think the utility kit that Vise is bringing runs counter to the Neon extremely well, especially that Sheer going in can just isolate the duelist and then things kind of go wrong from there. And there's no Yoru really to bait that out either. So this is going to be a really interesting defense coming through here. We see a 4-stack from Cubert Academy. They're playing patiently this time, waiting for Winthrop University to fall right into their trap.
We really just want to scrap. These teams live for it, and they're willing to dip for it. 1 for 1 on top of the stun. You got to TP away, but this gap is still open for a man like Knights. He will not poke the bear too much, though. Stay humble, because they know they got their work cut out for them on this C site that Moobs, surprise, surprise, has gotten to sneak onto.
Moobs now going so far deep. It's just going to be aware, but actually gets taken out by Nismo. So at this point, it is going to be the go signal for Winthrop University. Nasi not done yet, as Ali's so far forward.
Just continuing to creep in those gaps like water on a sidewalk. Every time that air starts to poke in the holes, the second that there's a Winthrop member available, they will just fill in the blanks. Very easy game to keep away from here in theory. Yeah, throw some shock darts in there, man. Go for it. Flare not even giving away. You don't need to. Nasi's got it covered. The whole way through, in fact. Covering for moves on top of the first kill and doubling back on the waterfall and just grabbing the... He covered everything that time around.
And It's so interesting because Winthrop University, they're the ones who this time take the aggression forwards. Moves obviously gets taken down pretty early on, despite the fact that claiming so much space for the team. But that space was instrumental at making sure that Winthrop University had that backup plan ready to go. As soon as we see Infiltrator just kind of get spammed down to oblivion by all this utility, the pivot immediately happens. And Moves is already on the site, so they know they can save their utility for that post plant. And already we're seeing just Infiltrator run so far deep onto this A site. Cubert Academy are going to be moving their defenses around to try and compensate for potentially where Winthrop will be going. But Winthrop University have already gained a lot of ground. And of course, they're going to have the better weaponry after winning that pistol.
And gladly exercising that freedom, not really giving a care about how Cubert decide to respond to it. They'll pile drive them either way. Infiltrator giving himself away on the noise cue. Scuba's got to react pretty quickly, but he'll get absolutely elbowed by this Winthrop squad. Rest of the team should follow suit pretty quickly. Infiltrator, you might not want to be the one to go for that next time. Yeah, there you go. Let Moves handle it. White clean. So, yeah, nice and clean. Cubert deciding to speed run that fight as well. How often do you think we go to the A courtyard first for these like full-blown brawls, man? Does it continue, or do we start slowing down a little bit, maybe playing through the walls, just, you know, throwing some salvos in?
I'm going to be honest. You can't spell Lotus without that A-site brawl. I know that doesn't make any sense, but I swear every single team, like, it's just such a default thing that you've seen. Even before Tejo got into the mix, everyone was just brawling outside of A. Usually it was like paint shells and then have a little bit of an aftershock get tossed in there. But it's always this A space that a lot of these teams like to play over. And this time it is going to be Cubert a little bit more advanced forwards. T-Dog does get taken down as Moves once again trying to claim this space, but the rest of the squad are already leading onto A and potentially going to bait out Knights here. Ooh, Knights at least good for one onto Ali, and smartly backs up, makes the call for the rest of the squad as well about the members that have been spotted.
Moves continuing to maintain some defenders over here on the C site thanks to the Arc Rose getting procced. So Winthrop will use that to gain some extra passing control of the courtyard. Like a ballroom dance, these two teams, each round designating a leader to decide who takes control early on and how to respond and fight from there. Through the baby door, Winthrop University will trollops into the B site with Nismo covering the spawn. This will get sandwiched pretty quickly if Winthrop's not careful, and Flare unfortunately cannot be. Outlaw shots going well for Infiltrator, though.
Wow.
Extra well. The double on top to save face and keep two standing for the advantage. And suddenly, Winthrop take away the third in the half.
It felt like there was just a little bit more hesitation coming in from Cubert there. I'm gonna be honest, like, they had the numbers there, they could have just pounced in there, but it was that slow clearing that we see again. And then Infiltrator, you know, 2 bullets in that Outlaw, that's gonna be 2 kills for Infiltrator. And it just all falls apart. This is not looking good for Cubert Academy at this point. Nismo, I do have to say, this was a pretty sick kill, but unfortunately, it just simply wasn't enough to make sure that things could work out here. And the weaponry rescued from Cubert Academy on that round, Winthrop University have all the rifles that they need, and Cubert are going to be on a little bit of a save. We're not getting the barnyard brawl outside of A side, but it is going to be fast aggression coming in from C as they take that mound control, but Moves just so aware. The game sense is just unreal, looking for those long shots. Can't quite secure it, but will be able to escape most importantly.
He's just rage baiting that C stack, trying to just get their aggression on at least one guy they can take down, but unfortunately, no one's really able to make a dent. In fact, that attempted flank pile is gonna go ahead and turn tail and meet back up over here with Nismo on the steps. Perhaps just to die with a little less of an advantage giving to Winthrop University. It seems like that's where we're headed this time around.
Cover going out.
Yeah, you can see they're just right now posturing, trying to find potential pick, get closer to a couple of those ultimates, at least drop a little bit of the weaponry here. And honestly, it's really going to be Nismo who might be able to get one. It would be the Infiltrator with the shorty in hand. They just dance on the other side of this. A little bit of timing might come through. As, yep, that's going to be potentially okay. No, not 2 kills here, but still an excellent job from Winthrop University. They're finding themselves now at double digits already. and are really flipping the script on how we expected this Lotus to go. Lotus is a pain point for Winthrop University. Between just not having the best win percentage on this to losing the map against Prosperity, Winthrop University, they really need this win, and it could really impact how they feel about continuing to play Lotus.
Yeah, this is definitely a confidence booster for the team at the right time here in that Swiss stage where, you know, there's nowhere to go from up for this still prospective 3 seed. Cubert, once again, going to try and push that narrative down the yard now that they have the guns back. Winthrop finally going to slow down and not really go band for band, at least at first, but we'll see what Nasi throws at the problem here. Recon dart into the fast lane, so that got the full opening for Infiltrator. He's got control of Rubble. Never mind, Knights is able to shut that down. Armageddon, just to make sure no one else can get on top of it, and they won't. Winthrop's already made their way into B site. Moves the only one in fact, with that sheer active, but he's able to hold his own long enough for Ali to TP in as well, and now it's a full-blown 2-person brawl on site. Luckily, though, Cubert have enough resources to slow that down to a complete halt. Redux now with 3 for the round, and just cleaning things up with Nasi at the end. So the streak ending here in the half, Cubert winning their first defensive round here, and I mean, it looked, you know, as clean as you can get. Looked pretty full of denial the whole way through.
Yeah, and on top of that too, I mean, we see a very early Armageddon get kind of tossed in just to force people away. And I actually think that that was a really smart move to kind of corral the rest of Winthrop University to try and push into one of these other sites. Immediately just going into B, and somehow Move's able to stay alive despite the fact that the shear goes up, separating Moves from the rest of the squad. But it just kind of came down to a deathmatch at the end there, with Redux, who else, being really good for it. So excellent job from Cubert Academy. And already Infiltrator facing a lot of difficulties. It's really hard to see when you're walking over to seed.
Really willing to fight this out this time from Mound. Hunter's Fury going to attempt to clear the board here, but it won't be on top of any sort of push from Infiltrator just yet. And of course, the Lurk must now switch over to the other side, so Moob's creeping up the courtyard as Infiltrator has in fact nailed that first kill down. Could enter with an overdrive raw if he wanted to. Cubert's still spread pretty thin as well. But in with the drone, they'll be able to enter very safely and fully clear out this site.
Yeah, and just excellent take coming in there. Of course, Moves just adding pressure onto the A side as well. Make sure that Cubert Academy on this retake have to be watching their back, as they do get themselves set up in a 4v5 retake scenario. Couple of ultimates online, but this is still going to be a pretty tough retake, especially too with Moves finding Nismo, and now the Neural Theft just going to reveal all of their locations.
Quick reposition here from Cubert, but they'll sense that not enough time or opportunities to make something of it, and going forward in the match, could say the same. 2 rounds from Winthrop, taking this first one decisively after this attack half, in theory. But still, these pinpoint moments that Cubert is able to slow down Winthrop the same way that, you know, the opposite happened on the previous half. It is proving to deal the same critical blows to those attacks that they did on that defense. So there's every ounce of potential for this to suddenly go Cubert's way, especially with the ults in tow. You just have to find those right moments to really trap Winthrop. And the issue is, every time that these moments are coming up, it's Infiltrator removes most of the time coming up on top.
Yeah, it's like those individual gun battles where you just see Infiltrator or Moves walk in there, and somehow they're able to just win out one fight and escape completely unharmed. It's what's really allowing Winthrop University to be able to have these clean site takes. And this time around, it's a lot more hesitant. Pumping the brakes a little bit more. Winthrop University just playing very far back, leaving Cubert Academy to kind of guess what could happen. Ultimate-wise, still, Flare does have that Armageddon online. It's a good bail me out strategy. If Winthrop University get this round, the economy of Cubert's not going to be looking too great.
E-Dog pretty flooded here, but Knights, with that cover fire, can take that Infiltrator on the early entry. Still stuck, though. Winthrop is going to brute force their way to that trade. So we're back to the neutral with the 4v4, 50 seconds to go. Cubert making that early rotation to A site as Winthrop starts to duck away from it with Ollie fading away with that smoke. And he's actually going to choke up on that door, see if he can poke and prod at Knights, and he can! Grabs that kill too, but it's still a trade on the other side as Scuba has managed to grab his and is now creeping back up from C. So
30 seconds left.
WU still on a bit of a time crunch here. 25 seconds to go. Potential sandwich inbound. Ollie questioning the TP here. Where do you go? Looks like to the back site, indeed. On front of the boxes to make sure the whole place is clear. It is. They're hiding inside the smoke. Redux drop down. Early reaction time to take care of Nasi. Now Ollie has to try and get on top of the fight. He can't either. We'll just paranoia the planter to make sure he's got to stick it, bare his teeth, and grin out this fight. There's one for Flair, but that's all he'll get. And Cubert, excellent response time this round to get them to 8.
And I can't emphasize how important it was for Scuba to be able to find that pick onto moves. You can see as soon as things were not looking too great onto that A side, Winthrop University, they start putting the car in reverse and start to back out of that site, and they start making their way towards C. But as soon as Scuba finds that pick onto moves, Winthrop University, not a lot of time in their favor. Now they have to force into that A site. And that's where things just all went wrong. Just crazy, just missed that there actually. But it worked out perfectly. Like, I can't stress how important that was to really force Winthrop University to move in onto that A site, where Cubert Academy just looked a little bit more comfortable. They had the numbers and they had the utility advantage. It just worked out so nicely for them.
Well, we'll see Moobs give it another go. This time, the B entrance. Cubert not trying to entertain any angle that isn't pre-checked at this point in time, and the sheer will force Moobs to check it openly. Will get responded to very aggressively here with the door from Redux, and so Winthrop, they'll press the button on the 8 push and get a whole lot of purchase from it. Armageddon on drop as well, to make sure that this is fully clear to allow for the spike to go down. You don't know how many members of Cubert are waiting to pile onto this, but now you have a good idea. Infiltrator's ready for it anyway. Sun on top, doesn't matter when you've got a shorty. Nismo, 30 HP. Close call, but at this point, the damage once again may have already been done. Scuba, so much is on him, and Moobs has the gun back up in time. Timing, he is not a victim of this round. And thus Nismo, tough conversation must be had. Do we hold on to this lone Vandal in the eyes of a game point? Or do we go for the 1v4 clutch, chat? Let's see the ultimate clip. Let's go. Here we go against Ollie.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
Ah, yes, I love my clip with a long-range shorty, huh?
Match point.
Can't wait for this one to go viral. But honestly, too, like, I think it was just a really good understanding of the overall macro coming in on this map from Winthrop University, understanding, hey, their economy, it's not looking so hot right now. Maybe we hit them with the Armageddon, and it's going to be fun times for us. And yeah, we see those ultimates come through, and you know, Cubert Academy, they try to respond with a couple of ultimates of their own. We see Scuba pop the Steel Garden, but it just simply isn't enough given the fact that Winthrop University have already just swarmed in onto the site and taken advantage of everything. So very clean coming in from Winthrop. Cubert are going to be calling this timeout, but finally it feels like there's a little bit of hope. Winthrop University might be able to get this win on Lotus. They're just one round away from being able to do it.
The space making has really just been the crux of this attack so far from Winthrop University. Like you said, the gun diff doesn't really shine too much of a light on the fight when Winthrop already have so much of the space that the fight is taking place on to just play keep away and just continue taking these off angles and crossfires and just snowballing these advantages at a lightning pace. Beauty of attack on this map that they only need one more round of. And they could once again set their eyes on the courtyard, but Cubert spread just about as evenly as can be this time around. Of course, you've got Nismo cooped up inside that baby door again now that you don't have that Armageddon back in stock, so you can get aggressive on this courtyard, which looks like Knights is gonna.
Yeah, it is early aggression. Keep in mind as well, Knights does have the overdrive online. Another fragging out tool, electrifying your opponents. It's going to be Redux just alone onto the C site. does have a bit of Vise utility to support here. Paranoia as well, but as soon as that information is given, it's very clear that this is going to be a seaside hit. And yeah, Cubert Academy, they're ready to pounce on them, just hanging outside of Waterfall pretty soon.
Redux doing a great job of stalling out, shooting that drone nice and early to make sure that they still had to do a preliminary clear. And now the Rolling Thunder coming from T-Dog on the other side. Let's Redux enter dry. That'll be your first one. Winthrop can try and play stall, but Redux is in for good for 2. And now the rest of Cubert should be able to just completely annihilate this. Only one member of Winthrop still standing. And Cubert will beat Winthrop to the punch this time around. First from Redux is good reaction time, and second, that great calling that, while Knights was still kept up with that trap wire and the smoke on the A door, they still had a good idea that Winthrop was going to use that time limit on the smoke to go for that C push without, too much of a defensive pile being there, but they were so much more ready for it than they expected, and with Redux shooting down that stealth drone, all cylinders were firing at that point for the defense.
And I really got to give a shout out for T-Dog using that ultimate as well as the fault line in this round to really just stun up the entirety of Winthrop University -1. We saw T-Dog, unfortunately, use the ultimate and not get a lot of value, but definitely made up for it that round, keeping Cubert Academy in this one. They are still alive, 3-round difference here. An Armageddon coming out, though, is going to make things very awkward for Winthrop.
Yeah, you've got to get in front of this, and they do inside the tree. They win the fight against T-Dog. They win the fight against Knights on the box. Winthrop makes it all work on top of the Armageddon that tried to silence them. And now it's Cubert's, whose mouths may have to be shut for 5+ minutes between maps that they will have to clutch up. But Scuba, nice peek taken to at least get one back around. Ali maintaining that spawn check, but the stun necessitates the TP again, and so we're spread quite thin. But the spike continues to tick away. Nasi on the field, flips around for Nismo. How do you find that? But Scuba, next to the spike, grabs the 2 back. So low, but so little time as well. And he's got to hold this peak against Ali first before getting onto the spike. It's so over here. Moves has the easy turnaround. And Winthrop will grab a 13-9 victory here on Lotus. Immediate turnaround from what was considered one of their few weak points going into their Swiss stage. Marks, this team looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was going to say, after Split 1, Winthrop University only had a 33% win rate on Lotus. And then they go up against Prosperity, the new kids on the block, and they lose this map to them, shocking pretty much everybody, including myself. And yet going up against Cubert Academy, it feels like they've gotten a lot of their stuff put back together. That looked really good from Winthrop University. It felt like all the duels were kind of going in favor of them. And of course, Moob's Infiltrator being so effective at making those timings, making sure that they were finding the kills necessary. And Cubert Academy, you could tell that they had a couple of ideas there, but they just took a little bit too long to get some of those rolling. And by the time things were finally starting to click, it was a little bit too late. Winthrop University just steamrolled them through and win out map number 1.
Yeah, that confidence was looking really electric by the time that attack half had really concluded. No longer are they fighting upwind on their own map pick. We'll see if they feel as comfortable on Cubert Academy's home turf of Icebox after the break. Don't go anywhere.